Let's talk about wins in 2021.
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOpreneur. Welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
Having your voiceover demos easily playable and downloadable on your website is essential. The VoiceZam player lets you do that across any device and browser. There are also options for adding play buttons in your email signature, tracking your listens, and even putting videos in your demo player. Sign up now at voicezam.com/MarkScott and receive an instant $25 credit. For full details and to claim this offer, visit voicezam.com/MarkScott.
The VOpreneur podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur.
Hello and welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur, and I've got something special for you this week. I think that this is going to be a really, really good episode. My hope is that this episode is an inspiring episode. Now, just before we dive into this week's episode, I want to say thank you for another amazing year listening to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. Thank you for every download, for every comment, for every like, for every share. The fact that you are enjoying the podcast, the fact that you're loving these new episodes and this new format makes me happy. And it's going to keep me producing the podcast for, well, I guess at least another year anyway. So thank you so much for listening. And by the way, if you are, could you do me a favor? Share it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Mark Scott. Let me know if you're enjoying these episodes. I'd love to hear from you. Again, it's at Mark Scott. So I've been doing a lot of interviews for the past couple of months, and I've been absolutely loving that format. I've decided that I'm going to continue on with that format next year. I've already got interviews lined up for January, February, and March so far. So more good stuff to come on the podcast. We're going to mix things up just a little bit for this episode. Now, many of you know that I run a mastermind group throughout the year. And my group for 2021, I actually had 2 groups, and it was an amazing experience. And I loved working with everybody that was in that group. And when I was thinking about how I wanted to wrap up the year on the podcast, one of the things that I was thinking was that, obviously, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I'm all about having a positive mental attitude, right? That having that positive mindset and certainly having an attitude of gratitude. And that doesn't mean that you fake it and you got to be that way all the time. But I do think that the more that you incorporate that into your daily life, the more that it becomes second nature for you. I wanted to finish the year on a high note. I wanted to finish the year on a positive note. I wanted to finish the year with gratitude. And I was hoping to try to collect stories that would help to make that happen. So I reached out to a bunch of people who were in my mastermind groups this year, and I said, I want you to tell me a story about one of your wins for the year. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with mastermind. I just want to hear about one of your wins. And I'm going to take all of those stories and I'm going to compile them into a podcast episode, because I want you sitting at home right now, listening to this episode, I want to inspire you to think about your own wins, regardless of how big or how small they were, because it doesn't matter how it compares to somebody else and somebody else's business and somebody else's journey. What matters is that it was a win for you, whatever it was. And so by listening to these voice actors share stories of amazing things that have happened in their business this year, I'm hoping that it's going to get you thinking about the amazing things that have happened in your business this year. You're going to finish the year on a high note with a sense of gratitude, and you're going to carry that positive energy into 2022. So that's what we're going to do. Just a collection of short stories from everyday VOpreneurs just like you who are out there and trying to grow a business and celebrating their victories along the way. We're going to start with Tina Zaremba, because I think hers was probably the most simple of the stories, but also probably one of the most impactful of the stories. Listen to what Tina had to say.
I would like to share with you my one single win for 2021. All right, I don't think it's that sexy, but it is definitely a huge win for me. And it's this. Are you listening? Consistently taking action toward my vision. Doesn't have to be huge, but just small, consistent steps every day. Whether that's auditioning, reaching out to prospects, reaching out to clients, doing something every single day. That's it. No magic formula. I wish there was, but that's it. And that's a huge win for me. Happy holidays, everyone.
Consistently taking action towards my vision. Neatly summarized in Mark Scott speak, hashtag do the thing. When you're looking at a year from the aerial view, and you're looking at the goals that you've set for yourself over a 12-month period, sometimes those goals can feel a little bit intimidating, a little overwhelming, a little daunting. These great big things that you're trying to accomplish in your business. But if you do one thing every day, if you take that one consistent action every day, even though it's a small thing that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, when you add it up over 365 days, it becomes a big thing. So do what Tina said. Consistently take action towards the vision. Or, as I would say, hashtag do the thing. Now, speaking of doing the thing, Marissa Dubois did the thing in 2021. In fact, she did a whole entirely new thing in 2021. Listen to her celebration.
2021 has been one for the books and is the year my voiceover career really launched to the next level. I added huge names to my resume like Intel and Home Depot, but one win that I am really proud of this year is launching a new side of my business, singing lessons for voice actors. This year I've had the honor of helping seasoned pros prepare for upcoming singing gigs, worked with newer voice actors who are curious how singing can help protect their voice and advance their VO career, and voice actors with talking talent for days who have never sung before outside of the shower but want to add a new skill to their VO bag of tricks. It brings me so much joy to hear stories about repeat bookings and new goals reached thanks to the confidence and skills VO colleagues have picked up during our singing lessons together. My goal is to leave singers of all levels. I love working with new singers who don't think they know how to sing at all, with exercises, information, and tools they can use and practice forever to protect their vocal cords. I want people to leave the lessons with new knowledge of pitch, rhythm, tone, breath support, vocal anatomy, awareness of personal habits, both good and bad, and confidence in their singing voice. Oh, and side benefit, studies show singing releases endorphins, so who doesn't love an endorphin boost after doing some singing exercises before going into the booth? It has been a pleasure and honor to give back to the VO community that has been so supportive and kind to me over the years. Seriously, this community is full of the best people in the world, and I'm grateful for all of you every day. I can't wait to see what 2022 brings in voiceover, singing lessons, and beyond.
Entrepreneurship and Wealth Building 101. If you're going to think like a VOpreneur, one of the things you should probably be thinking about, how can I create multiple revenue streams for myself? You know, it really excites me when I get to work with voice actors who are not only working on growing their VO business, but sometimes I end up helping them develop their side hustles too. In fact, several members of my mastermind group in 2021 ultimately ended up working on side hustles that I know they're going to carry forward, and I know those are going to produce alternative income streams for them, and I think it's amazing. I love being a part of that. I love being a part of the energy that surrounds that. And Marissa's been doing an amazing job with her YouTube videos. You should definitely check out her YouTube channel. And if you have any interest in singing, learning how to sing, improving at singing, maybe it's something that you've done before, but you want to get a little bit better at it, reach out, connect with Marissa, and maybe that can be one of your goals for 2022, adding singing into the mix. So all of us have those clients that we dream about working with, or at least I hope that you have a client or several clients that you dream about working with. It's one of the things that I've talked about in presentations that I've given in conferences before. 5 essential goals for your voiceover business. And one of those goals is identifying who your dream client is. Samantha Boffin was doing some celebrating this year when she landed a booking with one of those prestigious dream clients. Listen to her story.
So probably my favorite moment of 2021 was a booking for the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. And it was really exciting at the time. The director who actually rang me on a real actual phone, which is really unusual anyway, did it through a recommendation from somebody, which immediately makes you feel quite good about it. And it was my first ever big national museum booking, and I've always wanted to be in one of the big London museums, and I was chuffed to bits to get it. And it was also the start of other work in museums in London, which was great. And the actual story that I was telling, which was all about Raphael and his frescoes, it was lovely and full of information that I knew nothing about. So it was a lovely thing to learn about. Plus, it was to picture, which I really enjoy. I love doing to picture stuff because you can really take your time working out how and where to deliver the lines to make it really, sing. But honestly, mainly I was chuffed to bits to be somewhere that I could actually go and visit. I could go and visit myself. It's quite near where I live. And it was like being an actual exhibit, like I'm some kind of exhibit in the middle of London. It still feels, when I think about it, still feels very grand. And plus, my mother was, for once, quite impressed with a job that I'd done. And yeah, Raphael and his frescoes will always be my first. And such an exciting moment.
What we get to do is so cool. And the things that we get to lend our voices to are often very cool. And in the midst of running your business, cashing those checks, paying those bills, don't forget to take some time to truly appreciate the cool things that you get to be a part of. I always joke that when people ask me what I do for a living and I say I'm a voice actor and they say, well, what have I heard you on? And my response is generally nothing, because I don't do a lot of forward-facing stuff like commercials or TV or radio and things of that nature, right? A lot of the work that I do is on the non-broadcast side, a lot of corporate, a lot of e-learning, things of that nature. And so I always joke when I say that, but the fact of the matter is I've voiced some really stinking cool stuff in the past. I've done some e-learning courses that I have learned a ton from. I've done some e-learning courses that the subject matter scared the crap out of me too. A lot of cybersecurity stuff, very freaky stuff. But the point is, I love what I get to do. I love every one of those jobs. And so when you land one of those gigs with one of those clients, it doesn't have to be a national commercial to be something that you are proud of. I love the fact that Sam was giddy over this booking with this prestigious client in this museum. And I think it's so cool. And I was so glad for her to get that opportunity. When you're talking about goals, one of the big goals that a lot of voice actors have is doing what Brandon Miller did in 2021. He's got something to celebrate, and maybe your time to celebrate is coming soon too. Listen to Brandon's story.
For me, 2021 was a year of growth in so many ways. One of my biggest accomplishments was being able to take my voiceover business full-time. When I initially set my goal for taking my business full-time, it was contingent that I meet some sort of financial milestone before I make that transition because, I thought I wanted this like safety net or whatever it may be, and it didn't really unfold that way. There are other ways to reach your goals that may not hinge on getting to $40,000 a year. Now I'm comfortable in leaving my day job to go pursue voiceover full time. It doesn't have to be that way. There are other ways to do it. And for me, it was cutting my expenses. It was increasing my direct email marketing strategies. It was having an open conversation with my wife about my goal of taking my business full time and seeing an opportunity to sell our home to make a profit and getting the right training to make myself more competitive in the market. I'm sure we could all dwell on the stuff that didn't happen in 2021. But why? Dwelling on what should have or could have just keeps you stuck. Reposition and move forward. Be open to these opportunities. Pay attention to them. And as Mark would say, do the thing. But I'll add, do the thing before you have a chance to talk yourself out of it. Because your future self will thank you.
Now, if you want to hear more about Brandon's journey from part-time to full-time voiceover, that was just a little snippet, but I actually did an interview with Brandon, and I wanted to get his advice. I wanted to hear about his journey while it was still fresh in his head, because it's something that is literally unfolding right now. You can go back and listen to episode 137 of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. Go to VOpreneur.com or go through the archives wherever you subscribe to the podcast. Look for episode 137 to hear more about that transition from part-time to full-time. That is absolutely something to celebrate. And if that is one of your goals for 2022, I hope you get to celebrate it at the end of the year, by the end of the year, next year. Setting goals is something that doesn't come naturally to everyone. And this is one of the things that I learned when I first started doing mastermind groups. I get together with every member in December and we set goals for the coming year. And some voice actors know exactly what those things are that they want to accomplish and they're used to setting goals, but there are other voice actors who have never done it before. And so there's a little bit of more of a learning curve to trying to figure out what exactly are the things that you want to accomplish. What will make you feel successful at the end of the year if you do these things? And that was the case for Vanessa Mariquin. She'd never set goals before. So 2021 was the first year that she did it, and it sounds like it's working out pretty well for her. You're going to love this story.
2021 has been a huge year for me in terms of actually setting goals for myself and then creating actionable steps to reach those goals. I have never done that before in my entire VO career, which is insane to me now, but I am so thankful that I did it because this year has been just chock full of wins. Big, small, but honestly, even the small wins, like updating my books every month or so, even those are big for me. One marketing win that just makes me so stinking proud of myself is connecting with a dream client and booking with that dream client all through my own networking and marketing skills. So here's the story of how I did that. It was a Thursday in July and I was sitting on a plane to Chicago. I hadn't reached my weekly marketing goal and I really wanted to show up for myself that week. So I knew I was stuck in a plane for a few hours, so why not take advantage of my motivation and purchase the in-flight Wi-Fi, which I had never done, and do the thing. So I got out my MacBook, opened up Google, ready to research the niche that I was marketing, and I got stuck. So I thought, you know what, why not just work on LinkedIn today, since that's where I go to find my contacts anyway. And I don't know what came over me, but I suddenly had this wave of crazy courage and decided I was going for the top dogs. I'm talking Disney, Nick, VTech, those guys. I went to their company page, clicked employees, then clicked second connection to see who I had mutuals with, and started sending requests with a note to the people who hire voice actors. And you know what? They started accepting those requests. I engaged in conversation with really great people and fostered those relationships for the rest of the summer. Fast forward to August. I got a message from one of those relationships I had fostered. And he said, "Hey, Vanessa, we have a new product and I thought of you. Would you like to audition?" First off, you thought of me? What? Second, yeah, of course. So he sent the audition over. I auditioned, I got a callback, I booked it. I had an incredible time recording with them. And now I am on their roster and I am on their radar because I keep getting auditions from them. I am so proud of this win. And I just can't believe that all it took was one moment of bravery.
My favorite thing that Vanessa said was having that one moment of bravery. You know, when you reach out to these different clients, what is the worst that happens? They don't respond to you. That's it. That's the worst that happens. If you reach out to somebody, a big client, for example, and they have no interest in working with you, rest assured that they are not going to take out a billboard and post your picture on it and shame you publicly on the side of the interstate. They're not going to drop $1,000 on a social media ad campaign to try to get you blacklisted. Like, nothing bad is going to happen. The worst thing is they say no. But the best thing is that you get to work for them. And how cool would that be? And as you could tell from listening to Vanessa, it's actually pretty cool. So here's to you having one moment of bravery. Whether it's before the end of the year or whether it starts on January 1st of 2022, have that one moment of bravery. As we talk about wins that have happened in 2021, and we reflect back on the stories of some of the victories that have come, those victories wouldn't be there if we hadn't set goals in the first place. if we didn't know exactly what it was that we were working towards. Now, if one of the goals that you have set for yourself for 2022 is to level up your business, to find some more clients, to increase your income, to get more opportunities for yourself to audition and to get into the booth and to book and to invoice, I think I can help you with that. VoiceOver Marketing Playbook is coming out January 5th to the 14th, 2022. It is your step-by-step roadmap of how to market your voiceover business. Where to find leads, how to reach out to them, what to say, how to nurture those relationships, how to convert leads into prospects and ultimately into paying clients. Everything that you need to know to get started marketing your voiceover business and to start growing your voiceover business is in this easy-to-follow video course that you can sign up for and watch at your leisure and watch as often as you'd like. Playbook, again, is coming out January 5th through the 14th, 2022, and you can find all the details at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. That's voiceovermarketingplaybook.com.
Now, back to our show.
There's one goal that is almost universal among voice actors. At some point on our journey, we all want to seek out representation. It's almost like there's a form of validation that comes with that, with being able to say, I have an agent. And absolutely, those agents are going to open you up to opportunities that you would probably otherwise never be able to see on your own. Certainly, it can add a level of credibility. You list your agents on your website, makes you look more legit. And so it's no surprise that when somebody's getting started in the industry, one of the goals they might set for themselves is to find an agent. And that is one of the goals that Angela Colville set for herself in 2021. And not only did she meet it, she exceeded it.
So one really awesome thing that happened for me in 2021 in my voiceover career, voiceover business, is that a goal that I set in January was to obtain one reputable commercial agent. And as of the time of this recording, I have two, which is very exciting, and I am very grateful. And I was thinking about how that was a personal, professional goal for this year, but how many people were actually involved in achieving that goal? Because being part of the professional voiceover community is like nothing else. The access to and awareness of coaches and training and resources and the peer support and encouragement, expertise and experience. So much of what I have gained from individuals and also this community as a whole has given me and continues to give me the confidence not only to reach out to agents, but to all of my potential clients. And it's so good to know that through all the highs and lows, the feast or famine, the ups and downs, when we feel sometimes the most alone, and not just because we've been literally stuck at home for what feels like forever, that we're not alone. And so I guess for me, that's another goal achieved, to be a part of all of this.
We really do have a pretty special community. And as isolating as this business can be, working from home, and especially the last couple years, no conferences, no opportunities to go and hang out with everybody, it is good to have a group of people you can turn to for support and have people that will be there to encourage you along the way. And that is one of the things that I love about this industry, because it's one of the things that this industry does very well. And I appreciate the fact that Angela not only recognizes it, but really shines a light on how valuable that can be. Now, this next story is one that you may have heard because we covered it in a podcast episode, but it's so good that it's worth sharing again. Listen to Christy Harst's win from 2021.
I am focused on trying to carve out a space for myself as a female promo sports voice actor. And to do that without a promo agent isn't the easiest. So what I decided to do was focus on my hometown team, the Cleveland Browns, and really try to get their attention and let them know I exist. I'm in their backyard. I'm not too shabby of a voice actor, and I'm a fan, and I'd love to voice for them. And I had thought about a bunch of different ideas, but nothing was really sticking until I was on a walk in nature. And it kind of came to me like, why don't I write them a poem? Why don't I write them a poem? And I sat down and I had it written, and then I slept on it, woke up, and refined it. I sent it to Mark Scott because, he knows a little bit about marketing, and asked him his opinion. He gave it to me. I switched a little thing here, a little thing there. And then I sent it to a friend who said, Christy, you need to put this to video. And I was like, huh? Say what? Video? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized she was right. It was going to make more of an impact if I took this poem and set it to images. So I gathered a bunch of images of me when I was a kid and me and my family at Browns games, and set the whole thing with some old school footage of the Browns and some new school footage. And it turned out to be, I don't know, a minute and a half maybe, and put some music under it. I hired somebody to do all this and put it out there. I posted it on all social media. I gathered a team of people within the industry that are my friends and asked them to also share and tag on different platforms. I put it on my YouTube channel. I shared the YouTube link. I uploaded natively to some platforms. And what happened is, not too bad. I got a job from it, but not from the Browns, but somebody else heard it and hired me for a pretty decent job, which looks as though it's going to be ongoing. And I know for a fact that it made it to the Browns. Somebody I work with said, hey, I know somebody who works and does stuff for the Browns with video. I'll send it to them. They replied and said, I'm going to send this directly to the people at the Cleveland Browns. This is great. So at the end of the day, my idea to write a poem and to try and get their attention worked because I know it went directly to them. I have almost 4,000 views of it on my YouTube channel, and that doesn't include the views on other platforms. And I got a job from it. So I would consider that a huge win.
You can learn more about Christy's story and get inspired to try your own guerrilla marketing campaign, which I think you should probably do. Check out episode 134 of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. I had an opportunity to interview Christy and talk all about what she did and how that all came about. So if you really want to get into the inner workings of it and hopefully get inspired to do the same thing for yourself, again, that's episode 134 of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. We all have that one genre of voiceover that means more to us than any other genre. I love my e-learning work. I have so much fun doing my e-learning work. I love working with my e-learning clients. I love doing explainer videos, and I love doing corporate narration stuff as well. But I'll tell you, the one that really gets my heart pumping is the idea of doing documentary narration and maybe having the opportunity to do some in-show narration, a network like Discovery or History Channel or something like that. Like, that's the one that really cranks me up. That's one of the goals that I've set for myself. Now, for Joe Pisarro, that genre is video games. And he had a really big, really cool win in 2021. Listen to this.
So one of my biggest wins this year is actually composed of multiple wins, which, makes it more special, I guess. Anyway, I voice Marco Conti in the World War Z, The Aftermath expansion video game. The first win of this is that this was the first major original game character I voiced, as I've mostly done voice matching, for celebrities and things like that. And so that was a big one for me, is a character that I can, claim as my own and, not just another version of an older character. The second win is that I recorded this at the legendary Mark Grau Studios in Burbank, which was my first time there and, was just really cool to do. Kind of, on my bucket list of things to do. And then the third is that I booked a role on my own on Twitter, of all places, which showed me that social media may be overwhelming and often a big pain in the butt, but, ultimately it's about networking and putting yourself out there. And finally, my last win, which is probably the most important out of all these, is that I got to voice an Italian accented character. I grew up speaking Italian with my grandparents every summer in Italy watching a lot of really old and esoteric anime dubbed into Italian. And I continued to study the language and eventually got my master's in Italian history with the eventual plan to become a full-time professor at a prestigious university. Well, the furthest I got was an adjunct professor at a community college in San Diego, and lost the last of my classes almost 3 years ago. At that point, I decided to abandon my original goal and pursue voice acting full-time. And never in my wildest dreams growing up did I ever think I would get to voice video games in Italian for a living. So, all in all, a pretty huge win, I'd say.
When Joe first sent me his story, he mentioned, I kind of got a little carried away. I started talking about multiple wins, and, I don't want to come across as braggy, and, it's okay if you want to edit it or if you don't want to use it. And I just kept thinking, I love it. I love it because 1 win turns into 2 wins, turns into 3 wins, and so on and so on. And it goes to show that when we focus on the good things that happen in our business, or in our life for that matter, it's a lot easier to recognize more of those good things. That's why I think an episode like this is so important. That's why I think a story like Joe's is so important. It's a mindset shift. It's so easy for us to sit down and think about all the things that didn't go well in 2021. It's so easy for us to sit and reflect back on how the pandemic has impacted our business, and maybe on jobs that we've lost or clients that have gone away. We can find those stories, and we can focus on those stories, and we can, rhyme those stories off without thinking much about it. But ask somebody to tell you about all of their wins, and sometimes they really got to stop and think about it. I love that as Joe started talking about his wins, it just led to more wins. And I think that is so cool. That's what we do this for. To create that mindset shift, to get you thinking about things a little bit different. Barry Savaras is a very gifted voice actor, and I was really excited to have her in my mastermind group in 2021, and I was very excited to see what was going to happen with her year, because she had a very specific goal that she wanted to accomplish, and it's a big one. And I felt like I could help her with it, but I also knew that she probably had enough skill that she'd be able to carry herself through. Listen to her talk about her big goal of expanding her business.
At the start of 2021, I'd been working as a voice actor for over a decade, but I've built my entire career where I'm based, in South Korea. So my main goal for this year was to expand my business beyond Asia. No big deal. The greatest challenge I've faced is how to present myself as a genuine American talent when I'm halfway around the world. Now, one of my greatest strengths is my interpersonal skills. I'm confident that if I can just get on the horn with someone for 5 minutes or get some quick FaceTime, I'm confident I can work my charm, get on a roster, maybe even make a deal. But alas, I am thwarted by time zones. I'm 17 hours ahead of the West Coast and 14 hours ahead of the East Coast. I work during the day in Seoul with my Korean clients, so I can't shift my work schedule to the middle of the night. I'm just not one of these young whippersnappers, okay? Like when America's awake, I'm asleep. But over the summer, I was able to move a promising lead from LinkedIn to email. After exchanging several messages, it became clear that this prospect would have about $10,000 to $50,000 of e-learning content to churn out over the next year. Whoa, mama. Okay, so our email conversation was going great, but I decided I needed to do whatever it took to lock this baby in. So I took a chance and proposed a face-to-face chat. All I said in my email was, "Would you like to have a quick chat over Zoom this week or next? It's always nice to connect face-to-face when possible. Let me know." No response. But I followed up. See what I did there, Mark? About 9 days later, I wrote a quick follow-up email. "Do you have time this week or next for a quick Zoom chat?" That's it. That's all it said. Long story, sort of short, she apologized for taking so long to reply and set up a time to talk with me. So, 1 month after wooing her off of LinkedIn, I put on a nice shirt, put on some lipstick, and stayed up way past my bedtime for our Zoom chat. What I thought would be 5 minutes turned into a 30-minute conversation. Huge success. She really wanted to chat. For the next 2 months, I waited anxiously for the first scripts to be ready. I sent 2 short and sweet follow-ups during that time. And I'm thrilled to report that I recorded the first script just 2 weeks ago. So what's the takeaway?
We can't underestimate the power of just being human. Clients are people just like us. Shocking, right? And sometimes all it takes to win them over is just chatting with them and showing them who you are. Oh, yeah, and following up. Gotta follow up.
The year got off to a slow start. It doesn't happen overnight when you're doing direct marketing and trying to build relationships, trying to create new opportunities for yourself. And I know that there was a little bit of frustration with Barry in the beginning that, wow, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working? But the second half of the year rolled around and all of a sudden things started clicking. And all of a sudden those seeds that she had been planting in the early part of the year were starting to come to a harvest. And it was opening up doors and creating new opportunities. And I am so excited about some of the amazing clients that Barry has had the opportunity to work with now. And I love the fact that she recognizes finally that success is in the follow-up and persistence pays off. That story should be an inspiration to you as well. Maybe it doesn't happen right away, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Don't give up. Be patient. Hang in there. If they didn't want to hear from you, they'd tell you. If they continue to accept your emails and continue to engage with you on social media, then it's not a no, it's just a not yet. And eventually, that booking is going to come. Now, earlier, we talked about having a side hustle. And we talked about how Marissa had launched a new business in 2021, how she took her side hustle and was turning it into something else. Well, Laura Doman already has a couple of different sides to her business, not just voiceover, but on camera as well. And this year was a really fun year for her to bring those two things together. Listen to this story.
I'm a hyphenate, a film and TV actress as well as a voice actor. And I'd say that my big win this year has been the number of voiceover jobs that I've gotten through my on-camera work. My favorite was for a new employee training video. It actually ended up being more of a video game than anything else. It involved on-camera scenes, print work, teleprompter, and of course voiceover. The production used a green screen studio, which was a lot of fun, because the storyline was all set in the future, and our characters would interact with these half-human, half-animal creatures. It was a really unique spin on a diversity training program. The background itself was going to be all animated, and anything could happen. And it often did. For each scene, we filmed and recorded multiple scenarios. Each one was a choice that the employee could make, and then they would see what would happen and the consequences that would follow, and then they would have a chance to go back and make another choice. Some of these things were actually rather hilarious. I've had several other bookings from my on-camera contacts this year, too, but nothing quite like that particular project in terms of scope and the sheer fun of it. It also seemed that, well, like my animated hybrid human-animal scene partners, there is a cross-pollination of skill sets that can lead to some new and rather interesting opportunities. That's why one part of my marketing strategy is to make sure that my TV and film contacts know that I do voiceover, and vice versa.
Most of us have more tools in our toolbox than we sometimes realize. And sometimes we try to compartmentalize different areas of our life. We try to compartmentalize different skills, different jobs, different abilities, different talents, when in reality, if we looked at it from a different perspective, we might find ways to bring those things together, and that's exactly what Laura did, and I hope that that inspires you to think about it the same way. Rather than trying to separate all those different areas of your life and your personality and your education and your background, maybe there's ways that you can combine those things together and turn them into something really cool. This episode is going to go live on December 23rd, which means that you might actually be listening to this over the Christmas holidays if you've got a little bit of time, maybe a little bit of a break. And so this last story, I saved it for last intentionally because as much as we always want to be working, as much as we're always trying to market, always trying to get in the booth, always trying to find another audition, always looking for the next great opportunity, it's also really important sometimes to just turn it all off. I know for me, I've been taking a lot of time off in December. I've been enjoying a lot of time out of the studio, extra time with my family extra time with my kids, watching all the corny, cheesy Hallmark Christmas movies and all that sort of stuff. And it's one of the best things that I can do for my business is to just get out of my business for a little while. This story from Zuleika Desiga will hopefully inspire you to do something similar.
This year was not as I was expecting. The growth was not in my bank account. It was in my mental mindset. In the first 6 months of the year, the changes in the industry, the lack of steady projects, I received a lot of no's. I worked extra hard and didn't see any results. It drained me. I decided to do something radical. I went away, took a vacation, stayed away from social media, and reset myself. I'm very proud of the goals I accomplished this year. I can happily report that I'm back on track and ending the year on a winning note. I turned the negatives to positives. That will not have been easy if I wasn't in the mastermind group. There is pain when growing. It is uncomfortable. But when you are in a group with like-minded people, you are not alone. Everyone struggles with one thing or another. Being in a safe place where you can share your journey was priceless for me. I was very lucky to have my toughest year in my voiceover career while in this mastermind group. Definitely, it took me to the next level. And now I'm ready for 2022. Here we go.
When your biggest win for 2021 is going on a vacation and just pushing the reset button, that is very telling as to how important it is to give yourself some time off. So that's your homework assignment. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Then it's Christmas Day. And then I think you're going to have a pretty quiet stretch between Christmas and New Year's. Most companies are shutting down. I think we all need a little bit of time off this year. Enjoy that holiday. Take that vacation. Power down the studio. Give yourself permission to turn it all off for a little while and hit the reset button. And while you're on vacation and while that reset is happening, I hope that you'll think about the wins. Because no matter how this year went in your business, whether it went exactly as planned or didn't even go remotely close to how you had planned, if you look hard enough, you will find a win that is worth celebrating. Even if it's just one, just focus on that one win and let that be the momentum that carries you forward into 2022. Find the good things, have gratitude. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.
The Everyday VOpreneur podcast. Available everywhere fine podcasts are given away for free. Mostly, we think.
Having your voiceover demos easily playable and downloadable on your website is essential. The VoiceZam player lets you do that across any device and browser. There are also options for adding play buttons in your email signature, tracking your listens, and even putting videos in your demo player. Sign up now at voicezam.com/MarkScott and receive an instant $25 credit. For full details and to claim this offer, visit voicezam.com/MarkScott.
And scene.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOpreneur.com.